Hi there, it's David Young, the Resourceful Coach here, and what we're going to do today, we're going to do a video. I've had a lot of comments watching my other videos about how it seems that I make what feels and looks like about a 3/4 swing, but I'm getting very good distance with my shots. And even looking back at it, yeah, my swing only looks probably 3/4 or 7/8 in length, but I'm still able to play to a scratch level golf. And we're going to show you the biggest thing that I learned when I was starting to play golf, and how important the wrist cock is in the swing to, number one, create power, and we'll show you it's an effortless movement to create that as you go through, and also to improve ball striking. So we'll sort of explain those things, and we're going to use a couple of teaching aids as we go through this video to show you how that's going to help us. So understanding what is wrist cock. I mean, the wrist cock, I sort of look at a golf swing and I think there are three major power sources in the golf swing. You have what we call the levers of your arms. Your arms swing back and forth and they create movement. You then get the wrist cock, which if we stop here, looks like the wrists have now set and put the club at a pretty much a 90-degree angle here. And then we have the rotation of the body. And I always think the rotation, I would like it to feel it's more of a reaction rather than a physical thought as you're playing when you first sort of get into your golf and get the feel of your swing. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the other two parts, the two levers of the swing, the arms and the wrist cock, and show you if you can get the sort of the flow of that happening without any real tremendous effort, you can start to get good energy going into the golf ball, which is what we want. So the biggest thing for me is how do I get good wrist cock in my swing? And it all starts with my grip. Number one, I want as neutral a grip as possible as we go through. So for me, it feels like I'm gripping the club very much in my fingers to control the pressure. And then my left thumb is running slightly right of center. Similar idea in my right hand, gripping in the fingers, and then my right thumb would come over the top of that. And what I want to feel is there's no tension running into my wrists and into my arms and into my shoulders, because I want a nice free movement. I want to feel the weight of the club head. Throughout my swing, I've learned that gravity is going to create a tremendous amount of help in my swing. And all I've got to do really is hold the club firm enough that I've got control. And in 30 odd years of teaching, I've never had anybody physically throw the club away. If you feel like you're going to lose control of the club, you will grip it. But what I would sort of say to most golfers is grip the golf club a little bit like you're shaking somebody's hand. Shake it in a way where you think, yeah, it's firm, but you wouldn't be tense in your wrists and your arm. You wouldn't shake somebody's hand like this. You would go in and you go, yeah, pleased to meet you. So you're firm in your grip pressure, firm in your fingers, but everything around it is relaxed. And straight away, what that allows me to do is allow these two levers, my arms and my wrists, to start to sort of flow a little bit in the swing. And that's the sort of sensation that I want to get when I'm playing the shot, and get the feeling of how I'm playing the shot. So if I'm gripping the club that way, what I want to feel now is I just want to feel my arms just swinging like a big pendulum. And what you're probably seeing already is I'm not rigid, so you can see no wrist cock. The weight of the club is starting to cock the wrist. Okay, and I'm still in control of the club. It's not coming out of my hands, it's not twisting, so I feel I'm getting into that position. And as my arms swing a little bit fuller, what's going to happen is I start to get now to what I call my 9 o'clock position, which is sort of feeling that I'm getting my arm now pretty much parallel to the ground. You can see I've now created the full wrist cock. So I'm allowing that to happen. Okay, so you've got to be secure. You don't want to feel like the club's wobbling in your hand, but you've got to feel like you're holding it securely enough, but there's no tension in your arms. Again, think about shaking somebody's hand. You wouldn't be rigid with your shoulders and your arms. So we're generating that idea as we go back. And what we create now, I call it my L to L swing. And what I'm doing is if I swing back, think of the ball at the bottom of the arc here would be in a position roughly of 6 o'clock. If I then swing back to this position, which now looks 9 o'clock, I've created this, looks like an L on the right angle. And what I want to feel is if I just let that swing down and I let it go through, I start to create another L the other side. So you can call this your 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock swing, and you're creating an L to L position. You're creating this right angle either side. And I think big thing is try not to be too perfect with it. Try and feel the swing. I sort of get a little bit confused with golf. So you can't teach feel. Well, you can, because you're born with feel. You're born with the sensation in your hands of when you're holding that club, that there's an element of feel in your hands. So start to feel the weight of the club head. And what you'll see tour players do, and I see good players do, and they're on the practice ground, they're sort of sensing the club. They're not rigid here and doing what they call a perfect swing. I often see good players, they're just standing here like this. They're not doing anything. And look, already the arm is swinging and the wrist is starting to cock. And to be honest, a lot of good amateur golfers who are not playing to a very good level do that without even realizing. So let it happen. Sort of get that sensation. From there, as we go back, we get that angle through and just let the club flow. Now, what you'll find is, amazingly, if you just let it happen, you're not consciously thinking about what's happening down here, you start to brush the grass at the bottom. And what's happening is the weight of the club is starting to uncock the wrist for you. So you're there as you come down. I mean, what I was always taught as a kid, oh, you've got to release this club, you've got to flick this club through. It's going to happen. So if you are one of those players, think, I've got to really flick that through, the chances are you're probably going to collapse your swing as you come into the ball. So this is where this particular teaching aid, what we call an impact bag, always amazes me. All right, you can get the biggest, what I call, golfer who flicks at the ball and put this in front of them and they will make near enough a perfect swing straight away. And the reason is there's no ball. Okay, but you're going to get immediate feedback from the impact bag. So this was an old idea years ago where I think Henry Cotton used to practice hitting into an old car tyre. But now with equipment, with graphite shafts, things like that, you'd probably break your club. So they've invented these sort of impact bags. They're just a bag full of, well, I've just put clothes in it to keep it soft. So when you hit it, you can get a sensation of what you're doing. So when you get somebody doing that and they're flicking and they're there, all of a sudden you get them saying, look, just swing into the bag, boom, they come back to this lovely position. So the weight of the club is doing it for me. I'm there as I come down into the shot. And you can see the impact position we'd like to see. There's no collapse of the wrist. The wrist is cocked. The weight of the club has uncocked it for me. So if you get a chance, whether you go and have a lesson, see if your pro's got an impact bag, have a few swings into it. You can go online and buy them. Make sure you've got enough room to swing the club. But just very softly from there, just swinging into it, not hitting it full pelt. There, and you can see that position that we're looking for there as we come back to impact. And that's really important to sense that position. So all I'm doing, I'm letting the weight of the club come down. Now what you can hear is some energy going into the bag. So if there was a ball there, it would be encouraged down towards our target, no problem at all. So there's that sound, there's that force as we're going through the shot. So let's grab a ball. What have I got there? I've got a 7-iron. I'm going to hit that ball exactly the same as I just hit the bag. Okay. How far do we think that would go? Okay, looking down my range, I've got 50-yard posts I've got down there. I'd expect a 7-iron to go probably about 150, but this is really soft. So I feel like I'm just going to hit the bag as soft as I did. So it probably feels like I'm only going to hit it 50 yards. But there's the wrist cock through, and that ball has gone down probably 130 yards. Okay, but what I've done is I've created the nice flow of the arms, I've let the wrist cock, and then I've allowed that energy to just unwind itself as it comes down. You can see when I was hitting the bag, let's do that a few more times, just get that image in your mind. And what's interesting, you probably go to the practice ground and video yourself from face on like this without a ball, and you'll find yourself there, nice and relaxed, and you're probably not far off that position when you come back at impact. So what happens when the ball gets there? All of a sudden now, we start to think we've got to do something. So let's do another exercise, okay, we can do. Let's grab a couple of our alignment sticks and just make a little gateway, okay? So all I'm going to do there, put an alignment stick there, little gateway, and again, if you're on the practice ground, i.e. you're using a mat, purchase yourself a little bit of chalk and just make a little chalk square, sort of rub it into the mat, and when you make a swing, see where you're actually hitting the mat. Okay, I'm on the practice ground here and I'm hitting turf, so I can see that. I'm going to imagine the ball's there, again, no ball. And I'm just going to do the same exercise. There, the wrist cock, through, and we can see where I've hit. So very slight graze of the surface there, but you can see the divot is starting to happen after the ball. So I'm not coming to it and trying to flick it. And what we've shown you, I'm getting good power as we go through. So from that sensation, all I'm doing from there, Create the wrist cock nice and relaxed. As the arms come down, the club is going to naturally uncock. Let it happen. Don't feel that you've got to force it. Okay, now if you want to generate a little bit of energy, you can now use the teaching aid, the stick here, to create a little bit more energy. You can do this in the back garden. Think of it as a club and just listen. Again, another sense. We talked about feel in your hands. Now we're going to use sound. So just do the same thing there. We're going to do a little swoosh of it going through. Okay, as you get more used to it, see if you can increase that. You've got the same angle. See if you can increase that speed as you come down. And what you're looking for is the sound happening around where the ball would be. We don't want the sound happening here because you've released it too early. We want to hear it down at the bottom of the swing. But here's the really good news, and this is what golfers are really scared of. If you're swinging this club approximately 50 miles an hour and you're gripping the club the right tension, if you've created the angle here, it will release itself down at the bottom. You don't need to worry about it. It's going to happen. Okay, if you're strangling the club, probably you're not going to make the wrist cock anyway. And then as you come in, it's all going to be a bit wooden as you go through. But swinging around that 40, 50 miles an hour, which most average golfers are swinging near a 70 or 80, you will get rid of this angle. It will happen. So what you can now start to look at when you're working on this is just get the sensation. Let the club swing. Get the feel of that. Feel the hands securely holding the club, but you're sensing this position. Get this position here. And you don't need to do any more than that. Okay, if you feel the club moving in your hand, you might get wear on your glove. Your grip needs to be a tiny bit more secure. That suggests it's too loose. Okay, if you're not making the wrist cock, then it suggests you're gripping it too tight. So just sense that. Feel the weight of the club head. If you can't feel the weight of that, it's going to be very difficult to come back to the ball. But it's, as I call it, the weight on the end of the stick. Let it swing. There's my L position. Through, there's my L position. Relative to my stick, look, I'm coming back to the same position every time because I'm allowing the club to do it. And then as you get confident with it, see a few balls, experiment with it. You'll see how the ball will fly away, no problem at all. As you get more confident, can you then generate a little bit more energy to get the feeling of what you're doing? But again, the importance is when you go to that extra energy, don't start gripping the club tight because that's going to slow your muscles up. You've got to keep that lightness, but now feel, can I get that sensation of that club head accelerating through? But I'm not increasing the pressure. The more pressure you put in, the harder it is to create the wrist cock. So that's a little bit how I generate the speed that I do with what looks only a 3/4 swing. I'm still hitting the ball probably where professionals were going back 20, 30 years ago. 7-iron, probably 150, 155. I'm not hitting that ball like the modern players are because, again, the club head speed and the amount I practice, I'm a little bit older, it's not going as far as those guys. But they're athletes now, okay? I'm not at that level. So don't look at the top players and think, I've got to be swinging and hitting a 7-iron 175 yards. Find your number, find the feeling where you think, well, that's quite easy to do, and look to repeat it. The more you can repeat it, that's what's going to make you a better golfer. Get happy with the idea, trust it. You probably play with a lot of golfers. They're not the longest hitters, but they may be a lower handicap than you. And realize it's their level of consistency. Why I'm consistent with this is, one, I trust it. And then through that, I've just practiced that feeling, the L to L position, there, through to there, and I just trust it and I feel the weight of the club head. So hopefully that's shown you a little bit how I generate power. Use the L to L swing, use the impact bags, the sticks, get the feel of the energy as you're going through and see how that works for you. I hope you enjoyed that tip, working on your wrist cock. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.